Okay. That makes sense now. Shit. Sorry, man. Welcome to Dodgers Dogs. As part of the Dodgers Daily Network, Casey Porter here, joined by Coach Holt. It's not Austin, who's usually here on Mondays. You are with me and Coach, and I could not be more excited to talk to you, Coach. Great series this last weekend. We'll get all into it. Want to talk first about the Padres. How in the heck are you, Coach?
I'm doing great. Great to be back with you, Case, and see your face, be back with our dogs. I apologize they have to see me instead of the wealth of knowledge that is one Austin Brubaker that he brings to the show. But, like I said, on my end, I'm thrilled to death to be back here with you and with our Dodger dogs and on a big series starting up tonight in San Diego, and glad and grateful and happy to be back with you guys talking Dodger baseball today.
How about Yamamoto and Michael King? Get you some of that, huh? In Petco Park, which I love the games in San Diego. I'm probably a little bit different than most Dodgers fans. Those San Diego fans get so excited for Los Angeles to come into town, and it seems like we beat their ass every time. There's not a whole lot more gratifying for me than to go into a Petco Park of a bunch of rabid San Diego fans and just beat their ass and make them go home going, God, I freaking hate the Dodgers, man. I love that. I love that experience. Hopefully we get to have that experience again.
Well, I know the Dodgers, I think last year, 9 of 13, we beat them last year, the Dodgers, and I think it's the same way in 2023. I think 24, I don't remember what it was in, but, it was 9 out of 13 last year. They got us the 1 year in the playoffs, I guess, a couple of years, 3 years ago. But, here's what it is. As of recently, the Dodgers had the upper hand, as we know, changing the guard over there, Mike Shilton over there, acting like he's tough and hitting people and stuff like that. He got his ass fired. So, they've moved on to a new manager. They're still an outstanding ball club. They've been playing well, and they've been playing well, kind of like the Dodgers when their stars aren't really producing. So that's a good sign if you're a Padres fan that, Tatis and Machado, those guys aren't really heating up yet. So Sheets has kind of been carried on. So, it's the same thing. You're able to win when your big dogs aren't really performing what you expect out of them yet. But so that's looking for a great series. I'm like you, Case. I love when they play at Petco. It's almost, me and you kind of on the other side of the little brother thing, when you talk about Oklahoma State and OU football here in Oklahoma, is always rabid when they come to Stillwater. It's always rabid. OU, it's crazy. It's football country, but it's always rabid when they came to Stillwater because we wanted to win so bad. Quote unquote, we were called the little brother, whatever, had that chip on their shoulder when they came. It's kind of the same thing with the Padres fans. They've got that chip on their shoulder. They haven't been able to get over the hump. They won one series against the Dodgers, but it didn't turn into anything, whatever. A broke clock's right twice a day, and the world finds a note. We know all the things that are said, but I like it. I like it. They're an outstanding team. They've got a few injuries, nothing like the Dodgers have been dealing with, but it's going to be a great series. Both teams are right there. They're half a game out behind the Dodgers in the West Division. It's an exciting time. Should be great baseball with rabid fans and great baseball on the field.
Yeah, Yamamoto's been interesting. He hasn't struck quite as many guys out this year. We know that Michael King, that slider, just the way that he moves the ball, the way that he steps to the plate, he's always been very difficult on the Dodgers. This is going to be a really tough chore. Yamamoto is going to have to be on point, but I'll say this, okay? This is the difference between, like, championship caliber teams and, like, the Angels. Like Soriano, he pitched scared. The Angels played scared. So Soriano pitched in a way to where he is like, oh, well, if I do this, then the Dodgers are going to do that. Whereas, like, the Dodgers, okay, they go, well, this is what we do. If you're good enough to beat our ass with us doing what we do, power to you. But we don't think you're good enough to do that over and over and over, right? So Soriano, splitter. Dodgers just kept laying off of it, and he really played into the Dodgers' hands. So I say that to say, okay, the Padres are not like that, Coach.
Nope.
The Padres, one thing I hate the Padres, but in a lot of ways I admire them a lot because they are the little brother, and they take that way too far. They haven't earned any respect in terms of they beat the Dodgers in one playoff series, haven't won anything else, okay? So they try to act big and bad and macho. And that part of it's fake. But I will say that the part of that that's not fake about the Padres is that they're going to do what they do, and they're going to see if what they do is better than what the Dodgers do. And just it so happens the Dodgers have had better rosters, but they will not be scared of the Dodgers. Michael King will come right at the Dodgers and what he does best. They will force the Dodgers to come and beat them and play well, unlike a team like the Angels.
No, you're absolutely correct. The Angels weren't expecting to win, didn't think they could win, didn't get right down to it, probably didn't try to win too much, but that's not the case with the Padres. They're going to come. They've beaten the Dodgers, not regularly, not in the past, but in a crucial playoff series one time. So there is some things going on there, but they're going to bring it. King has always been tough on the Dodgers. He's a quality major league pitcher. He's always been tough against the Dodgers, and I'm sure he will be again tonight. Yamamoto is Yamamoto. I know. For us, as I mentioned earlier, there's a little bit of struggle there in him. I think he's 3-3, but his last 4 games, his last game he gave up the most runs I think he'd ever given up, maybe the most home runs, at 3 home runs in a game. He's already given up, on a pace to give up a lot more home runs he did last year. So he's a great pitcher. He's a bell cow for the Dodgers, but there's been a little bit of a chink in his armor the last 4 starts have been a little bit, not as good as the start of the season for him. He's still very good, and he's one of those guys that can be not at his best and still be successful, which he has been. But like I said, the last game, I don't read too much into it. The book's getting whatever you want to call it, the book. They're getting out on him, but I don't think I don't read too much into it yet, unless we get like several games in a row here, and he's giving up a lot of home runs and losing some games. Then maybe we'll start worrying about it. Right now, I'm not. I know he's quality. He's going to could come out and throw a 2-hit shutout tonight. The thing he is doing is, we talk about this a lot, Case, he's giving the Dodgers length. Even when other teams he's struggled, he's giving them length, and it really helped the bullpen, which we know is having some problems with injuries now.
Yeah. So I think you might disagree. We can have a good conversation about this, and you may agree to a certain extent, but not totally this or that. So when your offense isn't giving you runs as a pitcher, what happens is you feel like you're in crisis at all times. I mean, so imagine like a pitcher that with a runner at third base and only 1 out. You're like, if I don't strike this guy out, they're going to score a run, and then we're going to lose, okay?
Yep.
So imagine that mentality and how you pitch in that scenario, and then relate that to basically every pitch you throw when you're Yoshinobu Yamamoto, because your team is just not scoring behind you. So I say that only to say, I think a lot of his problems and the home runs are because he's not getting a lot of run support. And so at all times, he's in crisis mode, because if he feels like he gives up a run, that might be the entire game and he loses. And so because of that, I think there's times where he's been too perfect. He's tried to be too fine. He's gotten behind in the count, and then that's when the home run ball happens. So I think that all works together. What do you think about that?
No, I totally agree. I would not disagree with you on that, because it's not just happening to him. You're absolutely correct. These last few starts, there coincides with the Dodgers' struggles offensively. Go back to Ohtani. What's he got? 1 loss? He pitched a great game in that 1 loss. I think Robo is an example. He's 6-1. If I'm not, I don't have it in front of me, but I think the 1 loss he had, what did he go at? 8 innings or something crap like that.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. The Dodgers, the pitchers have been outstanding. Yamamoto hasn't been terrible, but he's had, like you said, it's almost like every pitch matters when you're not scoring runs. You don't have that luxury of being ahead 3-0 and whatever. They're at 0 most of the time. They weren't scoring runs at all, in kind of a really pace that we were all worried about. We knew it wouldn't stay that way, and it's not going to. But you're absolutely correct on that. Yamamoto starts, and you see the same thing at Ohtani. He's been great. The 1 loss he probably shouldn't have lost. Same way with Robleski, who's been outstanding. Like I said, the game he lost, he went 8 2/3 or some crap like that.
Yeah.
So, you're absolutely spot on that, and we hope that's something. Baseball is an up and down. We know it. There's always, every team goes up and down. The Dodgers always have 2 in a row. Blah blah blah. I don't want to hear how much money they spent. They had up and down. It's just the nature of baseball. Nobody dominates. Nobody wins every game. You're not great every day. You're great all the time. So we're not. That's not any crisis mode going on here. But you do see something there. That stretch right there that you're talking about, Yamamoto's last 4 starts. That's a very good observation. But it could be. I'd say the same thing for Ohtani and Robo probably. And if I went back and looked, probably the same way with Emmett. Maybe some of his games he struggled because the Dodgers weren't scoring runs. We hope that's a thing of the past, but we know it will happen again. It will. It happens to every team. It's not going to be, they're not going to hit 320 as a team the entire year.
So I kind of say that to say the Dodgers are starting to score more runs, and they're definitely getting way more guys in scoring position. So kind of my narrative on that would, I know fans are always like, man, we never can get the big hit. Well, that's because you're not getting any hits. I mean, as an offense starts gathering a lot of hits, that tends to take care of the runners in scoring position issue. So as a manager or even as a fan, I don't at all like to focus on the runners in scoring position stat because, first of all, that's going to cause press. If you make too much of that as a manager, go, guys, we got to start being better in the clutch. Well, then guys are just going to they're going to try harder, and it's going to make it worse. So my message always is, guys, we just got to get more hits. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. We're just not playing very good offense right now. So having said that, okay, this was a good weekend offensively. It wasn't like the top end of the ceiling of what this Dodgers offense can do, but it was a good weekend. Yamamoto saw that this offense is starting to play really good, okay? So I really think him seeing this offense starting to really ignite and play well, I think that might kind of back him up to where he doesn't feel like he has to be quite as perfect. I think he's going to challenge the San Diego hitters a little bit more, and like Jay's saying here, with the ABS system, you can't be perfect anymore because umpires can't call that pitch a couple inches off the plate because they'll get called out on it.
Yep.
So I think just the fact that Yamamoto saw the Dodgers play better offense all weekend, I think that's going to allow him to be a little bit more aggressive in the strike zone. And we'll see if the Padres can hit him or not.
No, that's another great observation, Case. That's the other thing about the Dodgers. I try to watch every game. I've got the app. I try to watch every game, and I watch a lot of them. There's some things that me and you both, being school teachers and athletic directors, there's just some night that you don't get to it. But I always go to the box score. And the things I've been noticing here recently, even the games that the Dodgers have done, you mentioned this past weekend. First thing I look over there, not a whole lot of hits. I look, okay, we must hit a bunch of home runs because we always had the all or homer or nothing deal. That's what we used to complain about. That with fans, whatever. But you look up now, they're not hitting as many home runs. I don't think they're swinging for many home runs. I think they're getting more base hits. I think the up and down the lineup has started to contribute more. It's almost like and I don't have the stats in front of me. If Falston was here, he'd tell you exactly how many home runs we hit, how many exactly we had last year at this same time, probably. But just as I look at the box scores of games I miss, it's not just a bunch of homers, that we're scoring runs on. We're getting base hits, we're moving runners, and it's different people performing there. So, that's almost, to me and you, as being high school American Legion coaches, that moving runners is the big thing there. I agree with you on the runners in scoring position. I'm more impressed with 2 strike hits and 2 out hits. That's just me personally. If you get a 2 strike hit or a hit with 2 outs, to drive in, that is way more impressive to me because you get a runner in scoring position with no outs. The first inning guy leads off double. It pisses you off if you don't move him around, but for the most part, that's not a game breaker. It's not a deal breaker. Getting clutch hits with 2 strikes on you against that guy throwing 102, late in the game, or getting a 2 strike, 2 out hit, with a clutch part of the game,
or a leadoff hit,
That stuff is what, to me, that's just me talking here. I'm not Dave Roberts. I'm never been on that level, never will be. I'm just saying that to me is more impressive than the runners in scoring position can get watered down some. I agree with you there, but. That's just an observation to me. When I look at box scores, the games I miss, I see a team with different people performing. Otani's averaging where you want to be. They say Teoscar is struggling a little bit, but he's hitting a 260. That's all he's ever hit in his career. So
Teoscar's turned it around, no doubt.
Yeah, he turned it around. I think Tucker's hitting better. I mean, you could just see it up and down like Pages started out red hot, and he had a little low there, but he's coming around too. So you're seeing a lot of different people. Kim stays up. They have to send Freeland down. They keep Kim. He's doing the little things, moving runners. He's doing the little things, making winning baseball plays for you down at the bottom of the lineup. That's why he's still here. That's why he stayed here. Freeland's killing it in Oklahoma City out here. So, what are you going to do? You got to make a choice. But Kim earned that spot. Freeland, just got caught up in the mix there. I mean, he's killing in Oklahoma City. You need to probably get him back up there at some point. So, it's. These aren't big problems. These are good problems to have for the Dodgers right now. Especially you're still in first place and you're nowhere near being the finished product. And in baseball, I don't know that you ever get to be the finished product till season's over.
To your point, Shohei Ohtani in the last week, 471, 571, 882. That's a slash line. OPS of 1453. To your point, you want to know what got him started? The home run where, Coach? I do that all the time. They make fun of me when I ask a question. I already have the answer. Home run opposite field.
Yep.
Teo Hernandez, Coach, last week, 375, average 1006 OPS. Okay. So he's hitting 375, 1006 OPS. You want to know how he got started? Hitting parachutes to right field. Okay. And then also hustling and playing good defense.
Yeah.
Just the overall locked in is what gets Teo going. Okay. So to your point, what the Dodgers have done, Coach, is that they have kind of backed things up and they said, hey, guys, we got to start playing good offense. We've just got to hell with statistics, to hell with so whatever it is that makes a good at bat, that's what we have to start doing. Screw the results. We got to get back to the process of letting the ball get a little bit deeper, seeing it longer, be locked in, thinking opposite field gap, and then let the chips fall where they may after that. And the Dodgers have so much talent that whenever they back up and get into that, okay, well, we're tired of this crap. We're going to start doing this again, especially Teo and Shohei. They're so talented that it doesn't take them long. And I said, even coming into the Angels series last week, and I know I caught a lot of crap for this, I'm just telling you, I'm seeing signs of this offense is starting to play really good. And I don't mean the results-wise because they were still only scoring 4 or 5 runs.
Right.
I'm seeing the process aspect of this. You're getting more runners in scoring position. You're starting to hit balls harder consistently. You're starting to put more innings together. You're starting to have more guys in scoring position. This started before the Angels series, and it all started with the Dodgers deciding to go back to the fundamentals offensively, letting the ball get deeper, seeing it deeper, and just staying short to the ball and trying to hit the ball hard. And lo and behold, they're playing good offense now.
Well, it's the same thing I mentioned earlier about again, I don't have the stats in front of me. I may be totally wrong, but I don't see it being a home run, all home run or nothing now. But we're also, and again, I don't see as many strikeouts. I always look through the box score. I want to see how many times the Dodgers struck out because those are empty. You have no shot of getting on base. So it looks to me like the strikeouts are down, the home runs are down. All those things are down, but so we're still working on the same thing. And I was thinking today, Case, before we went on, is that I'm not in the clubhouse, when they're struggling right there, I know they don't, like me and you would have a team meeting or a players only, and maybe they do. Is this something that was planned? Get away from these swings, get away from trying to hit home runs. Let's get back to playing fundamental baseball. Or is it just something that happened under these major leaguers? Or is that something that the Dave Roberts and the staff said, no, here's what we need to do to get out of this?
Yes.
I would like to think that's what happened because they're running the ball club, but it's been kind of fun to watch. Like I said, the starting pitch has been outstanding the entire season. If you look at the whole body of work, the starting pitch has been outstanding. For the most part, the bullpen's been pretty good. They've had some rough spots, which all bullpens do, and now you're getting a little banged up with some injuries, so it's very, very concerning. But, the offense is something that needed to be tweaked, and however Dave Robertson did it, again, it's not the finished product. They're still going to be able to hit over. But we still got, at least we know of, 3 Hall of Famers on this ball club. So that, it's not like you're just throwing anything out there. You still got quite a product you can put out there. And those guys are all professional. They're veterans. They just want to win. This is a team that plays for each other. That's why they're good. They play for each other. That's why they win. That's why they want to win.
Yep. Yeah, we have a comment here. Pages and Robo are the versions of each other. Robo's the pitching version of Pages, and Pages is the offensive version of Robo. And what I mean by that is they've both had very high ceilings. Robo can hit 100 miles an hour. He's got a nasty slider. He's got 6 to 7 pitches depending on how he's shaping his secondaries in one given night. Okay. Pages, we saw, even as a rookie, he can come out, he can hit home runs, he can hit the ball the other way, he can hit the ball inside, he can hit it, whatever, okay? So they've both had high ceilings, but the issues with Pages and Robo is when they crashed way too hard. Like Robo would have a really nice outing and then give up 8, okay? Right. He wouldn't be able to minimize the valleys. Same with Andy Pages. One thing I've always said about him is that he'll go on a month-long tear. It'll last literally a month, but then he'll get cold and it'll last like literally a month. So I think the two things that I'm the most proud of, Pages on the the position player side, Justin Robleski on the pitching side, is that they've done a really good job. Now, I know Robo gave up 6 the other day, but he did it still going 8 2/3 innings.
Yes.
And if you remember the last time he did that, he gave up 12 or he just kept giving up runs. It was like, yeah, he was eating innings, but he was doing so playing slow pitch softball, right?
Yep.
Like you might as well had a position player pitching.
Right.
Hey, he gave up the 6 runs early, nothing from there on. So I think you're seeing Robo and Pages grow up right in front of your eyes. And what Dodgers fans, I think, are seeing with that is how much that raises your floor as a team whenever those guys raise their floor and you don't have those crash out nights as a team overall. So super proud of those two, and I think that's a big part of trying to create a consistent performance night in and night out.
Yeah, and I think what you see with Robo, we've mentioned several times on here down through the years, case of what when Sandy Koufax said when he became a great pitcher, he quit trying to strike everybody out. He got to where he wanted to put it in play. I mean, that's a great. You look at it, Robo wasn't getting a lot of strikeouts, but it's almost like he's trying to make people look stupid. I think that's a comment you gave to me. It makes people look foolish. He's just trying to earn his craft, get better at his craft, and make it hard to hit him. And it already is. He's 6-1 at this point. And like you said, the only game he gave up, only game he lost, he still gave us 8 2/3 or 8 1/3, whatever it was. So, no, I totally agree. Pages, we go back, at the time, you look up when he first came up, you're thinking, I hope it ends up, see how it works out. Well, he struggles here and there, blah, blah, blah. But he's had – the last couple of years, they had way more good times, way more positive at bats, positive things happening to him. So, I totally agree. That's a great thing. Like I said, our 3 Hall of Famers aren't young. I mean, Ohtani's the youngest of the bunch, obviously, but and it happens to everybody at some point. Are they going to slow down? I don't think so. I mean, we're not seeing it. It's got to be happening some. It's not something very obvious at this point. It's not like Manny Ramirez can't hit a freaking fastball all of a sudden. It's not something that obvious that can happen. So you just got to continue to pull it. But those we talked about, I think last time we were together, the young players, their productivity and their improvement. That's what's going to be the big thing for us.
So Freddie Freeman not hitting at all. I think he's hit $111 in his last 6 or 7 games. Okay. Yep. Not hitting at all. If Freddie Freeman starts hitting, you go from 5 to 6 runs a game fairly organically. And when I say organically, I mean like you're not having to get a couple of walks that you really didn't dictate. It was just a pitcher that didn't pitch well, and then he makes a mistake and Ohtani hits a home run just because you're so talented. When I say organically, I mean just the floor of this offense, the way that they're able to put one at bat after the other and play good offense, that scores you your 5 to 6 runs. If you then start hitting home runs, that's when you get up to the 11 or 12. So I think just that organic way of scoring, if Freddie Freeman starts hitting the ball the way he's capable of, that moves you up into the 6 to 7 to 8 run range, which is kind of what we're talking about, how good this offense is. So here is, to me, what I'm excited about with this offense in a nutshell. Shohei Ohtani, again, 471, 571, 882, 1453 OPS in the last week. Teo, 375, 1006 OPS in the last week. Little more consistent offense from Ha-Seong Kim. He struck out some, but he's shown at least some consistent moments. Miguel Rojas continues to come through. Alex Call on the edge, on the margins, he continues to come through. The execution, as you mentioned, with 2 outs, the Dodgers are now getting multiple 2-out hits per game, which when they're going good, that's always a big part of what they do. Yep. You have fewer that inning sucked. We put no pressure on. You're having fewer dead innings with this team. It seems like you're putting more pressure consistently on the other team's pitcher, and that's because I think the walks are up. And I think when you put all that together, I think a big byproduct of that is that this lineup's becoming less vulnerable to the matchup game. Yep. Because when Alex Cole, Miguel Rojas, and Andy Pages and these guys, and even Ha-Seong Kim, when they start playing well, and then you have a Kyle Tucker that can offset the right-handed bats, and then Will Smith and that kind of deal, you can't just say, let's throw a lefty or throw a righty, and then all of a sudden you go from being great against a right-hander, terrible against a lefty, or vice versa. So that's a lot of things I just said, but that's, to me,
That's
how much excitement I have right now with this Dodgers team.
And if I'm the manager, who's the Padres manager? I should know this. I know we're live. I don't even know who the new guy is.
Yeah,
that's fine. I know
Stemmen or something like that. I'll look it up. I'm not afraid to tell you. I have no.
No, I know we're live.
I know he was a relief pitcher for the Padres.
I always wanted to say shit.
Stammen, Craig Stammen.
Okay,
yeah,
very good. And he obviously doing. I don't know anything about the guy, but it doesn't matter. My point is, imagine what his staff meetings are like going in this based off what you just said right there.
Yes.
Now, the matchup issue. Dave Roberts has done a great job of organizing his lineup for the matchups of what he's getting ready to face. But imagine if you're on the other side, the other clubhouse. You're trying to figure out if you're going righty, lefty, blah. What matchup, and everybody has those matchups. I know you did a great piece the other day with Josh Holliday, the Oklahoma State great coach at Oklahoma State baseball. And he's showing you on a marking board, the turn, that sort of thing. Had it down. They got that down to an art. That's one of the best college coaches in the country. So what the big league guys are doing that stuff the same way. Maybe not on a whiteboard right there, but maybe they are. Get down to the simple, get work done. So, just them guys having to do that stuff, I would hate to be the manager to the other side getting ready to play the Dodgers thinking, okay, well, they're not just home run or bust. They're not susceptible to striking out a bunch and not moving runners. That's not the team we're looking at right now. So, that's something that's good for the Dodgers. Good for the Dodgers.
Because they're going to start hitting home runs, and they're going to start hitting a lot of home runs. Typically speaking, the home runs come after you start playing really good offense. You start putting the ball in play harder. That's when the home runs actually do come. Okay, we're going to get to Roki Sasaki here in a minute.
Yep.
Okay, and I'll tell you, if you're around, and I've had the wonderful luxury of being around all of these professional dugouts. I've had a chance to talk to all the pitching coaches, the hitting coaches, the bench coaches, Chris Gutierrez. I've had several in-depth conversations with him. He was the third base coach and the bench coach, infielders coach for Oklahoma City.
Yep.
You've seen all my interviews with the scouts and all of this. So I'm just going to tell you, I thought I knew a little bit about baseball when I started this Dodgers Daily thing. I have gotten a PhD. And of course, you know me, Coach, I'm like a sponge. I can't get enough of it. And I listen and I absorb and I listen and I absorb. And how does this apply to that? So anyways, I say all that to say, all of this stuff is neat and all the advanced analytics and the spin and the grips and all that's all cool. Okay. But you want to know what the number one thing you're hearing the most out of Oral Hershiser's mouth, out of the Dodgers' mouth, out of everything that they're talking about when it comes to pitching. And here I am hitting my desk. I get made fun of that for that too. I say that in a good way. I get excited. Okay. What you're hearing now, once you hear this, it's like when you get a car, you're like, oh, well, he has a car, she has a car. You start seeing those same vehicles everywhere else that you didn't notice before. Now that I'm going to say this, you'll know this on broadcast. You're hearing the term strike one. The Dodgers are emphasizing throwing strike one with their pitchers more than they probably always have, but I've never heard it said this much. And to me, that was the key for Roki Sasaki the other day. So make it as complicated as you want, but all I know is it gets a lot more simple when the pitcher gets ahead in the count, no balls and a strike, versus whenever they get behind one ball and no strikes. Make it as complicated as you want, but that's what makes it the most simple.
I love it, Case, because like I said, I call myself a hillbilly ball coach because obviously the way I sound, and I'm old, so I call that. But I know we think a lot the same way. All the analytics you have. Austin on our podcast is the best. He can work for a professional team with all the knowledge he has and the work he does there. So, but I know the Dodgers have all. But it comes down to the same thing like you. We've said this numerous times. I've coached, you've coached, and this isn't anything new. The best pitch in baseball is strike one. I know I've got it on my phone somewhere that's got all the averages of an 0-1 count, an 0-2 count, a 1-2 count. Yet, this isn't brain surgery. When the pitchers are ahead, they got the advantage. So, like you said, Sasaki has showed that in his last start. You hope that's something that's a trend that we'll continue to see. But, getting strike one, that's always going to be the key to baseball. Strike one is like we said, it is the best pitch in baseball. Yeah.
So, whenever you hear, I've been asked this question, I think 1,000 times. Are you worried about Sasaki when he talks about he doesn't have confidence? He doesn't have confidence. He doesn't have confidence. No. And here's why, okay? And you have to really get to see the minor league grind. So I'm lucky. I get to see like These guys go through the minor leagues, and their stuff's always been good. And then I get Ryan Pepio was the one I can really recall, and I got to interview him like right after his major league debut. And the theme here was, Coach, you get to the major leagues and you've heard this your whole life, and you're like, man, these people aren't even human. These guys are so good. How in the hell am I ever going to survive? Right? And then all of a sudden you kind of throw one of your pitches and it works and you get an out, and then all of a sudden you're standing there on a major league mound and you go, oh, hell, I'm good enough to be here. All I got to do is be Ryan Pepio. I don't have to try to be something that I'm not.
Right.
So whenever you hear Roki Sasaki say, oh, I didn't have confidence, or, oh, I had confidence, all you're hearing is he has not had that eureka moment yet to where he went, you know what? All I have to do is be Roki Sasaki. All I have to do is throw good strikes. My stuff's good enough. Throw good strikes. Let my splitter play off of my good strikes. And I will be able to get major league outs. He has given major league hitters way too much credit. Okay. And so therefore he's getting behind the count, trying to give him too much credit, and that, well, no doubt you don't have confidence when you're down 2-0. We just talked about that. So I think there's a chance that this last outing, not because of the results, no walks, that was fantastic, but because Sasaki threw so many strikes early in the count and those major league hitters didn't hurt him with it, I think that could have been what I call the eureka moment that Ryan Pepio had, that all these guys have, where he stood there and he went, I'm just going to be the same Roki Sasaki I always have been, and hell, this is good enough. That's the confidence that never goes away right there, whenever you truly believe that. And so that's kind of where I'm hoping last outing from Sasaki leads him to.
Well, yeah, we see it with Robo too. I mean, we used to use the term trust your stuff all the time, Case, is people that don't hide the ball. It's the same concept. I'm not going to hide the baseball. My stuff's good enough to get these guys out. I belong here. We've seen Robo become that guy from the World Series up to this year. Now you see that guy, and we saw some of that with Will Klein too up to this point. So I totally agree with you there. You'll see a guy who maybe he just says, I'm good enough. I don't need to try to fool people. I'm just I got to trust my stuff and trust it and throw it.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so Padres, Coach, they're going to be amped up. I always remember, it kind of reminds me of Tom Osborne. You'd have all these teams that would come after Nebraska in the 70s and 80s and 90s, and they'd be so fired up. And the Nebraska guys were like tractors, man. They were like robots. It was like there was no emotion. There was no anything. I was always just so impressed with how they just showed up and acted like, we're going to kick your ass and we're going to act like we've done it before. I think one of the kryptonites that the Dodgers have in Petco Park is that they don't respond. They don't even pay attention to all the hoopla and the excitement that the Padres have. So hopefully the Padres are a little bit too excited and the Dodgers can continue to have that professional even keel.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Coach Ward, Gary Ward, the great coach at Oklahoma State back in the past, he called it football mentality. It's the same thing. You can't be that way. You can't. There's me and you've talked about it. We did a high school game tournament together not too long ago. Baseball's is a game of emotion, but you can't be emotional. It's the same thing. John Wooden used to say, "Be fast, but don't be quick." Or don't be fast. I can't remember the exact term, but basically it's telling you, be quick. Don't hurry, but be quick. It's the same concept right there. You're telling people, to stay within yourself, do what you got to do, focus on what needs to be done, and that's great in every sport right there. Like I said, what we've been talking about.
Yep. Okay, so let's get into Dalton Rushing a little bit, Coach. How much long? Do you have 10 minutes?
I got 10 minutes. I just found out my daughter got me some Thunder tickets, so.
Nice.
I want to see it real quick.
Yeah, nice. Okay.
Yeah, 10 minutes. Yep.
Get into your principal, teacher, coach, dad, all these modes. You've been all that, okay?
Right.
Tough conversation.
Yep.
Dalton Rushing at every turn has been right on everything he's been frustrated with. He's got a crappy role, okay, which means that you press, okay? He's better than the role he's been given, okay? He's right about that. No doubt about it. He is. He would be a starter on how many other teams? So he's being given a role lesser than his talent. That's frustrating. Okay. He asked for time the other night and the umpire didn't give it to him. He was right in that situation. Okay. He's pressing. He's trying to do way too much because he's trying to to get especially once he got off to a really good start, he's like, hell, if I keep doing this, I might actually get a bigger role. Right. So he's trying to press a little bit to get a bigger role. And so then he's just really hinged on results. And every time he fails, he's getting pissed off about it. So all of the reasons why he's getting frustrated, he's correct on, okay? He's not wrong on any of them.
Nope.
He's just emotionally not handling them in the correct way. So as a dad, as a manager, as a coach, as a principal, as a teacher, what do you tell this kid? I mean, what's the message to somebody who's right but handling it wrong?
That's something we've all done as parents, probably more than has as a coach. Life's not always fair. I mean, that's a cliche, but it's a dadgum truth. Life's not always fair. You know, we've all failed in our lifetime. I've failed. We've all had failure in our life, not just in baseball. That's a game. You know, in life, we've had failure, we've had heartbreak, we've lost loved ones, all the things you've gone through. He's done nothing wrong, and he's absolutely correct. Now, Freeland may start feeling some of this pretty soon. He hadn't been to the scope of rushing, but he's doing he's got some other things he didn't do in the major league. But the point being, he's absolutely correct. When you're a manager, principal, all the things you mentioned right there, you're like a parent to these players. You really are kind of a secondary blah blah blah. Parent. You're not a parent, but you kind of are. You're definitely a mentor. So you're right. Everything you're feeling is correct. Life's just not fair sometimes. Go be the back. Try to be a DH on the Dodgers when you got Shohei Ohtani. Whoever that guy was, or whoever was in line to be that guy. I don't even know who the hell it was, but he's not going to be there. Or you back up to Freddie Freeman. In every team has those scenarios. He's correct. Life's not always fair. I don't know how else. There's really you can't fool him. He knows.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. He's smart.
He's smart. He knows, and he's absolutely correct. So you can't browbeat. You can't do anything but just get with him and just remind him, because we're older. I've failed a hell of a lot more than Dalton Rushing had in his life, But now on the other hand, this is what he's got a chance of being set for his life as a Major League Baseball player forever, with his pension and all that other stuff, and he keeps running into roadblocks. Major disgust, depression, whatever you want to call it. I won't use the word depression. That goes into a lot of different areas, but being pissed off, he's right. So, that's just something that you have to approach it as a mentor, which all these guys are, all the people you mentioned, Case. I've done it. You've done it. You're right, dude. I don't know what to tell you. Keep doing what you do. Keep doing everything you're doing, because you're not doing, that's all you can do. I don't know what else to tell him. That's all he can do, and it may not ever change. I don't know. That's a tough situation. That's definitely a tough conversation, but that's the only answer I'd really have for him. And you can't make it. You can't go anywhere else with it, because hell, he knows better.
Yeah, kind of my point is, you're not playing a guy. You know that everybody else that you're playing against, he would be a starter on their team. You're not playing a guy, and he's so competitive that he wants to be a starter. We've all, it doesn't matter what level, we've all had that guy. And he goes up and strikes out and comes in and throws his helmet and his bat in the dugout and drops about 4 F-bombs. And then as a manager or coach, you go, hey, man, stop doing that. And he's like, okay. How am I supposed to feel right now, coach? What do you want me to just be okay? I'm trying to get a freaking hit because you won't play my ass.
Yep.
And then I get a chance to show you something, and I freaking what do you want me to do, coach?
Yep.
Just walk in here and start singing? So a lot of this is, sometimes as a coach or a manager, you're like, publicly go, oh, quit doing that. You can't do that. But inside you're going, man, I love guys that do stuff like that, right? So there's a little bit of that with Dalton Rushing, but kind of what are your overall thoughts on the good versus bad in the way that he is showing his mentality right now?
Well, there's a little bit of, I would say, if I was his father, which he may have had that already, a little too much, but it's easy for me to say because I'm not living that, but a little too much at times is what I would say. If I was his father, maybe Dave Roberts just said that as his manager too, and whoever, maybe his agent, whoever the hell he listens to or goes to advice for, maybe it's that guy.
Yeah. Okay, you probably won't know who this guy is. Let me actually slow this down. I wanted to show this on the show, though, Coach. Congratulations on your Thunder tickets. I don't think they're going to lose a freaking game the whole playoffs.
Well, they may.
Hey, this is Robinson Ortiz right here. Robinson Ortiz was a big deal. I want you to see the slider here, Coach. Watch the backdoor slider. The fastball to the outer half. He'll start that slider to that same tunnel like the fastball in the outer half, and then he's got the little cutter there, and then he'll throw that back foot slider. So Robinson Ortiz, who the Dodgers, I believe, traded last year, he's with Seattle. He is getting the call up today, so I wanted to make sure and get Robinson Ortiz on the board here. Not with the Dodgers anymore, but he is going to become a major leaguer. So super excited for Robinson Ortiz. What a cool deal. We always talk about, Coach, it's a blessing and a curse to be a prospect in the Dodgers organization, because it's a blessing because you get the best of everything, but it's also a curse because the only thing that you don't get the best of is opportunity at the major league level. So isn't it exciting when young guys get to reach their dreams, even when it's somewhere else, like Robinson Ortiz?
No doubt about it. It's their dream. It's what they've worked their whole life for. It's what me and you would dream to be, that we never achieved. It's what all of us kids playing in the backyard have wanted. It's great when you see a young man reach that and get an opportunity. And, I hate that it's somewhere else, but, so be it.
So be it. Okay, Coach, let's get into Mookie Betts. Okay? Yeah, it needs to happen to Wardo. Totally agree. Mookie Betts, he's one of those guys, hey, just tell me I can't do something, right? Just tell me I can't do something and just watch. Like last year, Mookie Betts can't be a Gold Glove shortstop. Well, watch this. But having said that, I think he focused on it so much that I think it hurt his offense. I think that's why they're doing this with Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani's focused so much on being a Cy Young. Let's back him up and give a couple days off so it doesn't creep into his offense, okay? So I think the narrative on Mookie Betts this year is I don't think he can consistently hit the ball hard anymore, and I don't think he can hit the ball to the pull side hard anymore. I don't think, maybe this is confirmation bias on my part because this is how I feel. I don't think he can hit the ball in the air like he always does to the pull side consistently hard anymore. So kind of what you're seeing in Mookie Betts in the last couple of games is, okay, I've heard all the little chirps. I hear you chirping. I'm gonna prove your ass wrong. Okay, that's kind of the Mookie Betts that I see, and that's Mookie Betts when he's at his best to me.
Yeah, and that's the version of him that we want to see. We know is in there. And, I don't think he was ever healthy last year. He still was a great performer for the Dodgers. You mentioned a Gold Glover. So this is a guy, and I think they had the luxury. They could wait till he got totally healthy coming back, I'm assuming, or close to it. And now you're seeing the guys like, okay, all right, whatever. That's what I was talking about earlier. These veterans, these guys are going to make those adjustments. Freddie will make adjustments because they've been through the wars. They've been up and down their entire career, because everybody does. And this is the best version we're going to see. Maybe the best version we'll see of Mookie Betts moving forward, and it couldn't happen at a better time.
Does the Eric Lauer, does that acquisition, does that move the needle for you at all, or is that just, hey, in case we need to start here and there, DFA him? He's got a lot of major league experience. He's definitely a back end guy. He's not a whole lot of swing and miss. There's nothing impressive about this guy. So, why do you think the Dodgers went? Why do they go and get these quad A guys like this, or back end rotation guys, instead of trying to grow them and bring them up to the system?
Well, I think now we're in the middle. We're in the season. We're not in the middle of the season, but you got these injuries popping up and things happening, and I think it's an insurance policy.
Yeah,
we've already got some. We're seeing Dreyer just went on the, go on the injured list, and and now Snell's having surgery, and here we go again. We're starting to get decimated with some injuries. Glasnow's out. You hope it's not very long, but that's the other part. This guys, I think, is an insurance policy. Right now they're down to, what are we down to, 4 starters now instead of 6? We were at 6, so here we go again. So this may be a guy that's going to be your 5th or 6th starter, and you've got to start somewhere. And who knows? We've talked about this before. Change of scenery sometime makes all the difference.
Edwin Diaz, that situation, do you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, that doesn't look good, and the Snell situation doesn't. I hate the way that one looks too. There's a couple of things there that's very alarming for the Dodgers moving forward. You hope it doesn't turn out that way, but it's very alarming.
Yeah, it is. I guess maybe I've been forced into this world, but every time Edwin Diaz or Blake Snell or any of these guys, Tyler Glasnow, they go on the IL, I'm different than the average fan. My first thought is we've got about 5 minutes here, Coach. You good?
Yeah, I'm good. I got it. Yeah, I'm good.
So my first thought always is, oh, good. That's going to give somebody else a shot to be the next man up, whether that be Kyle Hurt or whether that be River Ryan, who threw well the other day, or whoever that may be. So I always think that, and then I always think, well, okay, so you're going to get a next man up. They're going to get all this experience. Then you're going to get Edwin Diaz back on the back end of it. Now you have the best of all worlds because you got Edwin Diaz back and you got all the experience for the younger guy. So I'm different than fans. I know they want to see Timmy trumpets and all that.
Yep.
I get more excited with the next man up mentality whenever some of these guys go down because I have that much confidence in the young guys. So what do you think about those type scenarios as a fan?
Well, I think it's the same thing. The Dodgers have thrived off that the last 2 years. The next man up. Just don't kid ourselves. They lost the entire rotation, then decimated with the bullpen last year. They have thrived and had success with the next man up. I'm totally all in on that. That's the way it is. I mean, that's why the organization is where it's at. The next man up. You don't worry about injuries. Tom Landry said it many years ago, and I was a young coach and tried to start listening to him. He never worried about things he had no control over. Injuries, illnesses, stuff like that. He didn't spend time worrying about that stuff. There's your next man mentality, and the Dodgers have been great at it, and I know they'll do it again.
Yeah, we have a question beyond River Ryan. Is there anybody at the AA or AAA level that's knocking on the door right now? I would have to say Carlos Duran, maybe, who's not having a great year, but Jake Eater is back with AAA Oklahoma City. You could bring him back up. Cole Irvin, he's kind of that Eric Lauer thing that you're talking about. You could do that. Griff McGarry is definitely a project, but he has a thunderbolt for light arm. I think the next guy might be a Garrett McDaniels. I think that we've talked about the lefty there. He's been very, very good. So for Oklahoma City, I mean, they picked that clean. They've brought up even guys